I'm gonna tell you
There
right
was a
now.
guy that was just making sub sandwiches that beat the Commanders 2 weeks ago. Extra olive oil.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with us today on this Top Shelf Tuesday edition, our cavalcade of stars, starting with the unofficial benefactor of the Odd Coaches Podcast, Brian Beaubien. Brian, it is good to see you, and we'll be talking about a lot of things with you. How you doing, sir?
Oh, fantastic. Happy to be back.
And Captain for Life, Will Cotton. Captain, how are you, sir?
I'm just ending my vacation, so I'm sad to go back, but had a blast last 2 weeks.
All right. And our favorite team leader and Giants aficionado, Mr. King, Mike King, how are you, sir?
I'm wearing the shirt of the New York team that should be trying to win, not the Giants, who should be trying to win.
All right, so segment one, we'll go best, worst, and most surprising. Segment two, coaching is hard. So we'll be talking about some coaching decisions. That's why we pulled in Beaubien. You know what we're going to talk about. And in segment three, we'll talk about things strictly for entertainment purposes only. And yes, fans, I have been entertained. But first, Will, what is the best thing you saw today?
It was the Jaguars game. I thought that they looked really good. They really looked like they were a good playoff team. They're ready to make that next step. It was a great trap game. You know, obviously Texans are playing very well.
Playing very well.
Very well, exactly. And that people didn't know. And they went out and they won. They actually, one of the few things that they actually did, they didn't what the Lions did or any other team. So they went up and won. And now they have the second overall pick right now. I'm not pick, the second overall playoff spot, which, and they're tied with the Chiefs. So if the Chiefs mess up, the Jaguars could have the first overall seed.
Yes, and the
Unheard
Chiefs have been playing their best. All right, Mike, what was the best thing you saw, sir?
Man, I hate them with every fiber of my being. The Eagles come from behind win. They looked awful for most of the game, and then they turn it on. As long as they lose in the Super Bowl, that'll be fun.
Okay, I like that Eagles pick too. Brian, best thing.
I'm gonna have to go with the Eagles and the Eagles and the Bills game. I just, at this point, given who I root for, I just want both teams to have fun. I'd like to see nice things happen in the game. So I'm just looking for good football. That was the best football game of the day, in my opinion.
All right, I'm going to stay with you, Beaubien. What is the worst thing you saw? And it could be over the weekend, if you will.
I mean, it goes without saying that it was the Commanders, but for today's situation, the putrid New York Giants and New England Patriots game, as good as the Buffalo and Philadelphia game was, that one was bad.
Wow, that was awful. Mike, what's the worst thing you saw, sir?
It's Patriot quarterback play. It's so bad. Now, the Giants have 11 turnovers forced in 3 games. The defense is actually Super Bowl caliber. It's like a real defense. But boy, when you're losing to Danny DeVito, Mac Jones looks like he wouldn't be the best quarterback on the Jets. I don't even know if he would start after they went through 2 or 3. Like, he's bad. Some of his throws were he was just looking at the Giants, just threw right in his chest. I mean, it was awful. Some of the worst quarterback play I've ever seen. And I've watched a lot of Jet games this year. So I guess they need the quarterback more than we do, as much as it pains me.
All right. Will, what about you, sir?
The worst thing for me?
Worst thing.
Man, it would be the Saints losing. That was an easy win for them. That was a nice little, put them in a nice spot for the playoffs. They would have been the 4th seed. And they fumbled against a team that I don't think none of them really good, but we all think that New Orleans was the one that's going to kind of, step out of the mud and dust themselves off a little bit, but they all look like they're bad. And it looks like it's going to enter the last season. It's about who's going to win this division, because right now the winner is 5-6. The Saints are 5-6. The Bucks are 4-7. And if you're not the Panthers, you're kind of in it a little bit. So it's going to be exciting with NFC South.
Well, You guys already mentioned the best things that I saw, but I want to jump in this. Worst thing I saw was Detroit continues to lay an egg on Thanksgiving, and it messed my whole day up because I had a bunch of parlays and Detroit laid an egg. So I had to get that out of the way. Now, Mike, what's the most surprising thing you saw this weekend?
I think there's only one answer, and that's the Broncos, because they were, let's see, they were 0-3,
Mhm.
losing to the Commanders and
Yeah.
the Dolphins by 50. They lost a game by 50, and it was Russell Wilson continued to be the biggest joke in the NFL from last year to those first three games. They barely beat the Bears, then they lost to the Jets. So they're 1-4, having lost to the Jets, the Commanders, in a game by 50. They beat the Chiefs. They beat the Bills. They beat the Vikings. They beat the Browns. They're 6-5. They're right in the thick of the playoff race. The AFC has a lot of 8-3 teams, but they're kind of right there. I think 6-5 gets you in, but there's like a bunch of teams. You would have never have thought they were 6-5 after that start. They were looking like they were gonna have the number one pick, and it wasn't even be close. So, I mean, Russell Wilson, good for him, good for the team, the whole thing.
All right, Brian. What about you? What surprised you?
So I was gonna say the Broncos as well, but um I think it for me, just looking at some stat lines, it's the lack of big time production from the big name running backs. And this kind of goes into kind of what we talked about at the beginning of the season about,
I'm
Jonathan.
not paying them.
I mean, it doesn't, and I don't know if this is scheme and to keep the ball out of their hands or what I'm not analyzing tape, right? But like, it doesn't seem like if you're not breaking off a 65-yard, 70-yard run like Josh Jacobs did today, you're not seeing just workhorse backs. And I think that's an evolution of the offense in the NFL, but it's also going to continue to keep salaries at a minimum for that position that has been premier. And I'm wondering how many more seasons it's going to take for that position to just completely fall off the map and see an evolution to more like Curtis Samuel type guys, Deebo Samuel type guys, where you're seeing a lot more guys who will carry the ball but aren't really ball carriers.
No. All right, Will, it's on you, sir. What surprised you?
Surprised me that Patrick Mahomes is still like that guy. He has no receivers. He had guys weren't playing. The guy came out and has 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. Willed the team. Now they won by 2 touchdowns. And they're pulling guys out of nowhere. I mean, they're not Travis Kelce anymore. It's Rashid Rice. The guy had 107 yards. Kelce is still there, but hasn't had a touchdown. I think he has 1 touchdown all year. I think you would have never told me that if Travis Kelce had 1 touchdown, that the Chiefs would still be the best team in the NFL, even though they're second currently. But they're balling, man. They're rolling at the right time. And I wouldn't want to play Kansas City, especially after that. They got their loss, so now they have nothing else to fear moving forward. So that's gonna be a scary team moving forward. They look good.
Well, I've got to jump in because I heard something that gave me pause, that surprised me. Indianapolis Colts owner Jim Irsay said that his 2014 arrest for operating a vehicle while intoxicated was the result of police prejudice against him for being a, quote, rich white billionaire. Fellas, I've got to get this quote correct. I am prejudiced against because I'm a rich white billionaire. And if I'm just a regular guy down the block, they're not pulling me in. Of course not. And then when Irsay was asked how this would be received, he said, and I quote, I don't care what it sounds like. It's the truth. Quite frankly, I never thought I'd hear that. So I was quite surprised by those comments. So to keep us all safe, I'm not going to let Will and Brian jump in and explain these things to me. So fans, when we get back, we're going to talk about how hard it is to coach and we're going to get Bobian's comments on the Commanders coaching situation. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast.
The CKA SAVE Project is an industry leader in advocating for student-athlete academic and athletic needs. Through academic and athletic enrichment, the CKA SAVE Project is on the forefront of the issues facing 21st century student-athletes. As student-athletes continue to struggle to find a better balance between academic and athletic success, the CKA SAVE Project offers academic and athletic services to support student-athlete academic success, including academic skills assessment, academic and athletic consulting, academic monitoring, academic and athletic workshops. For more information or to schedule a free consultation, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
All right, welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 2. We're going to talk about coaching being hard. Will, I'm going to start with you, and you're in charge of Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin fired his offense coordinator, Matt Canada, and the fact that the fans knew who the offense coordinator was not a good thing. His dismissal kind of caused a little bit of a spark with the offense today. Kenny Pickett played well. They did have a lot of arguments prior to the firing. So what are your thoughts, Will, on Pittsburgh making a change in an organization that rarely makes coaching changes?
It must have been a big thing for them. It must have been like like you said, they don't do it a lot. There's not a lot of turnover, especially at Pittsburgh. For them to fire him, they are not happy with Kenny Pickett. I think that speaks more so with Kenny Pickett than the OC, because this kid is just not translating any sort of nothing. You have receivers, you have running backs, we have a decent line, and the kid just should be right. Thank God that they're actually in the playoffs. Imagine if they weren't in the playoffs. Tomlin would have probably lost his job. But they had to sacrifice someone, and it was an unknown kind of guy. Me being more of like a knows about NFL. Nothing. I didn't really care about it, but they had the sacrificial lamb, and they got the win. So now it looks like it was a good choice. So let's see what happens. And they're in the playoffs, so everything looks good. It was Matt Canada's fault.
Okay. Mike, I'm going to give you the Buffalo Bills, who also changed its offensive coordinator, and the Bills put points up today. What do you think about that move long term?
I think Josh Allen makes a lot of mistakes, and offensive coordinators get blamed. I think Matt Canada, the fans wanted blood. I think for the Bills, they're realizing that like this window they had where they seemed like they were going to be the Chiefs is quickly closing, and they're more desperation. I think the Steelers were more, the fans are so angry, we have to give in. I think that's the difference between them.
All right. And now, Ryan, we have you here. We appreciate you being here. The Washington Commanders made some staff changes. They fired their defense coordinator. They fired the secondaries coach or somebody, and you'll tell us the name. It has been in news reports recently that Ron Rivera is a dead man walking. You are a Commander season ticket holder. You are a lifelong fan. Please share your thoughts on the staff changes. Is it too much, too little, too late? What are you thinking, sir?
So I have a couple of thoughts. The first is that I think with the timing of the sale in the offseason, when it happened, if it had been 3 months earlier, this would have happened prior to the season. None of this coaching staff would have been back with the new ownership group if they had more time to deal with the off-season decisions that would have needed to be made by coaching staff. So I think Rivera was a dead man walking as soon as Josh Harris bought the team. If he didn't win the Super Bowl this year, a playoff, sneaking into the last wild card spot wasn't going to save his job. I hope, and I've hoped, for years that Eric Bieniemy gets a chance as a head coach. And I think if they made him an interim head coach right now, and he's the natural choice to be that person, when was the last time that we saw an interim head coach get elevated to the full head coaching position? Don't see it. And so in order to give him a fair shake at actually interviewing for a job that I think as a fan, I hope he gets, keeping Rivera throughout the rest of the season makes sense. But again, you also can't, similar to the, somebody had to pay, right? Somebody had to be let go. And Jack Del Rio is the guy. You don't go from having, 6-7 first round draft picks on the field to the 32nd ranked defense and not have some bloodletting somewhere. Also, the secondary coach, I have no idea who he is, but he doesn't sound like somebody who ever played DB. I mean, I just from a completely terrible place. It seems to be the right two guys to let go. I think you could have done it after the second week and you could have seen some different, you could have seen some more impact. But I think I was resigned to this year once it happened as late as it did, that there was not going to be any coaching change until after the season. I would imagine he'll be the first one to go the day after the season is over, and hopefully get a good, somebody in there to be able to make their own decisions about who they're drafting, how they're using their draft capital and their cap space. And then we can put something together. They can put something together that actually resembles, a competitive team for next year.
Yeah, because the other reports are that they're going to look for a general manager too. And is that Jason currently?
He's the vice president in charge of operations. Like, I don't think that's his role. I actually don't mind a lot of.
Or is it Martin Mayhew? I don't know.
They don't have one. It's Rivera. Rivera makes the decisions. And unless you're Bill Belichick or Andy Reid, that's not a successful combination. So I think having somebody who can make those personnel decisions with the coach's input, of course, but there needs to be a dichotomy there.
I think they've been like, it's very an attractive job right now. I've been reading on Twitter that ever since Snyder's gone and Harris is on, the GM's vacation spot is very everyone wants it. The head coaches, we'll see who gets it. I heard Belichick was in there, he was interested. Oh, not please, but but yeah. So I think things are going to be changed. I mean, we're going to get some real coaches in, some real talent that can change things, and we'll see. We'll see. They look like they're serious because they're firing people that should be fired anyway. So I'm happy.
All right. So, Mike, as a Giants fan, how are you feeling about all of these things with the Commanders? Will they actually get it right this time?
It's a talent game. The owners and the coach, you need talent. And watching the Giant Commander game, the Giants stink, and we've got 5 players better than anyone on the Commanders. Anyone. Andrew Thomas is way better than all their offensive linemen combined into one person. Dexter Lawrence. Commanders have good D tackles. Dexter Lawrence blows them both away. And the Giants stink. So a coach is a step in the right direction, but they need draft picks, and they need to hit lots of them. And so do the Giants, and that's the only thing that's going to matter. We can talk coaches and owners and all the fun stuff. You need players. The Eagles have players.
Yes.
The Cowboys have players. They got lots of them at every position.
Yes.
So
to make an inside joke, my playbook didn't look nearly as good the year after.
Yeah.
And the only thing that changed
when you got D1,
players.
when you got D1 talent, it's easy.
the shot was open. It's just not going in. And I'm going to leave it at that. So fans, when we get back, Will's laughing a little too hard for me right now because it's true. When we get back, we'll talk about things strictly for entertainment purposes only. We'll be right back on the Young Coaches Podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student-athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book. So I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read. Former George Mason standout Folarin Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams, just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Coaches Podcast in segment 3. Let's get the NFL top 5. Mr. King, you had a duty. Let's see how you did, sir. Who is your top 5 this week?
So it's really hard because there's a lot of teams that are 8-3. Like there's like 7 teams to put into the top 5. I'll say this. I think this is the worst collection of top 5 teams at this time of the year. I really don't think there's a good team. I think they're all just levels of okay. I don't know what's happened to the NFL, but Eagles have to be 1. They win every game close, but they keep winning them, so put them 1. Chiefs 2, Ravens 3, and then you got the Jaguars, Dolphins, 49ers, Cowboys. And I think I'm going to go Jaguars, Dolphins because the AFC is just way better than the NFC, so they get rewarded. 49ers and Cowboys could be outside.
All right. Ryan, agree or disagree?
I would move the Dolphins out and put the Cowboys in. And nothing hurts me more than to say that thing. But they just, and especially if any playoff games run through Dallas, they've been unstoppable at home. Not that they've necessarily played anybody with any great shakes there.
Dolphins haven't played anybody. Cowboys haven't played. They haven't beat anybody.
It doesn't seem like
for the quarterbacks the Cowboys have beat, and it's like they're in the league.
Yeah, I get that, but it's the NFL. Any given week, it's hard to win, right? And they've won. What have they won? 5 of their 5 home games by 21 or more, or something like that. Like that's hard. That's not an easy thing to do, no matter who you're playing. And so, if there's a chink in the armor of the Dallas Cowboys, I'm going to find it for you. And they look strong. So I would put them in over the Dolphins.
All right. So, Will, I need your comments on my season-long bets as my resident gambler. All right. Steelers, I got them over 8.5, and they're shockingly to me 7-4. Can I get my 2 wins? Am I good, sir?
Are you gonna get them? I think you can get them. I think they play Cincinnati again.
They play Cincinnati. They play the Patriots.
They have the Patriots and Cardinals. Yeah, you got it.
There you go.
I think you got that. Yeah.
Okay. I got the Jags over 10, Will. They're 8-3 right now. Can I get 3 wins and go to the pay window?
Yes, you got Bucks, Panthers, Titans. I think they're better, all 3 of those teams.
Okay. We're just going to skip the Jets and just say I did it. And Chargers are playing tonight. We're going to skip that one. But the Packers, okay, 7.5. They're 5-6 with 6 games left. Can I get 3-3 in the last 6?
I think you could. Giants, Panthers, Bears. Bucks. Maybe you could sneak in the Bucks, but they got the Chiefs and they have the hot Vikings. Because Dobbs is that guy is playing like he's freaking Michael Vick now. So can't say they go to them. But I think they should. There's 3 winnable games that they can get.
All right, we're going to skip Carolina. Brian, I need my homer. I've got the Commanders over 6.5, and they're 4-8. Can I get 3 wins out of the next 5?
Not a chance.
It's thin, very thin.
Whatever. hedge, and go whatever whatever they are. Bet against them every
Under. Yeah.
You got Rams, you got Jets, and the Cowboys are the last week of the season. They might have nothing to play for. There's your three.
That's six.
That's
You-
why
you're
I
beat
got
the
Mike
Jets.
King.
But
in my-
Washington-
They're not
You're
better than
gonna
the other teams. They're not better than the Rams. They're not better than the Jets. And they're definitely not better than the Niners.
Everyone's better than the Jets. The Jets are starting a guy. His family doesn't know who
I'm
he
gonna
is.
tell you. I'm gonna tell you
There
right
was
now.
a guy that was just making sub sandwiches that beat the Commanders 2 weeks ago. Extra olive oil.
as bad
Vinegar.
as bad as the Commanders' defense has been, getting rid of the guy who ran it is not going to fix it overnight. It would not surprise me if Matt Stafford throws for 650 yards. Like it's going to be unbelievable. Unbelievable.
All right.
I don't have a
And
chance to lose.
back to Will. I got Seattle over 8.5. We're 6-5 now. Can I get 3 wins out of these last 6 games, sir?
They can. They can beat the Titans. They can beat the Cardinals, I think. They can beat the Steelers. Depends on where they're playing and how good they're playing at the time. That'll be a tough win. But Cowboys, Niners, Eagles are not they should beat the crap out of them. So it comes down to the Steelers, in my opinion.
All right. So this week, fans, I was 3-2, had a much better week. So I had a spread. I had the Steelers minus 2.5, went to the pay window. I had New Orleans over 42, and like you, Will, I thought I was going to get a little extra scoring in there. Didn't get it. Had a 2-play with Carolina under 37 and Jacksonville minus 2.5, went to the pay window. My whole cavalcade of stars and I watched the Eagles turn it out in overtime. So I had a 3-play of Kansas City, Philadelphia, and Tennessee. Went to the pay window, and I had Cleveland in the upset, and the only person upset was me. All right. So next week on Thursday, Seattle plays at Dallas. Short week. We might have something there. And on Sundays, the games of note: Detroit versus New Orleans, especially after that stinker. San Francisco versus the Eagles, and they're coming to Philadelphia. I think G might be going to the game. Denver versus Houston, and Miami versus Washington. Panel, what are we looking forward to? Mike, we're going to start with you. What are we looking forward to, sir?
I'm going to the Falcons Jets game, so I'm going to say that one.
Why? Oh, that
Uh,
didn't come out right. I'm sorry.
family's got tickets. I'm doing the driving, so it'll be good. I'm going to watch Bijan. I'll see him live. That'll be fun.
Okay. Will, anything of note, sir, for you?
If the Cowboys can continue that winning, that Thursday game is a very interesting one. If they lose it, people are right back that they are. If they win, that's another step for me and to be kind of make themselves like really a playoff team and we're trying to win. Obviously, I want to make sure. Oh, so the Commanders are playing the Dolphins, so the Dolphins should win based on our formula. I'm excited about that Eagles and Niners game. I think something's gonna happen. I think either someone's gonna get hurt or someone is going to really stink it up and expose themselves. But it's gonna be a very interesting game, and it's a West Coast team going east, and it's going to be cold. So that's interesting to see. It's a good test for them to see what happens. And I think, and also Packers and the Chiefs. Packers have been kind of playing well. They're playing hot. Chiefs aren't playing the best. They were down bad until they had those 2 great plays. I think people will be a little more interesting. So they're like Packers and Chiefs are one. Obviously, Cowboys, Seahawks, and obviously everybody's going to watch the Niners, Eagles. Should be some good football. It's getting close to playoff for some, so none of that mess around stuff anymore. So.
All right, and Brian, I saw on social media that the Dolphins games may still be available. Anything you're interested in?
Selling those tickets. I'm interested in 2 things. The first is the Broncos Texans, which at week 3 didn't look like it was going to be much of anything, but right now it could decide that last or one of the last playoff spots in the West. So I think that's going to be in the AFC rather. So that's going to be nice. The second thing is, Keith, you better run to the window because Miami on the line that I'm looking at is only favored by 9.5. So run and take the Dolphins running away before that line goes up.
Oh, yeah.
The public action is going to be on the Dolphins.
The public action. All right, so fans, next week, I don't know what this is going to look like, but we will be taping our 400th episode. I don't know who's coming. I don't know who's going. Trying to get franchise to sneak in. Maybe we can even get Kelly to come in from Minnesota. But I am proud of everybody here with us. Looking forward to taping that. And on behalf of our Cavalcade of Stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast. And we will see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach FRANCHIZE. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.